By learning more about your genome, you've taken a major step preparing yourself for the genome era.
Dum tonan vetra di bidi dum tonan vetra di bida
dum dum tra di bidi dum dum
vetra di bida dul bum tenen tra di bidi dul bum tenen tra di bida
dul bum tenen tra di bidi dul bum tenen tra di
bida
bida
dum ton dau de tra di bidi dum ton
dau
dau
de
de
tra di bida dum dum dau de tra di bidi dum dum dau de tra di bida
dul bum ten dau tra di bidi dul bum ten
dau tra di bida dul bum ten dau tra di bidi dul bum ten dau tra di bida
Rode Marie-Louise, roule en amitié, Rode Marie-Louise,
roule en amitié, roule Marie-Louise, roule en amitié, roule Marie-Louise, roule en amitié.
Roulam kate ram kate bouché kate kama roulam kate po kate
giseta, roulam kate ram kate bouché kate kama roulam kate ram kate giseta.
Vous avez norizi, vous respectez, d'abord que vous lose
l'air à l'arrière, vous avez norizi, vous respectez, d'abord que vous lose l'air à l'arrière.
Dis voilà que t'en trente, voilà que t'en der, man avec trawa,
d'abord que ouais, dis voilà que n'en trente, d'abord que t'en der, man avec trawa, d'abord que ouais.
Fiche le godin, noir à body, rasco di fiche le godin,
noir à body, drink fiche le godin, va body, vasco di fiche le godin, va body, drink.
Noir body, wasco di wa
va body, drink, wa din dan, va body, wasco di wa din dan, va body, mon.
Dom ton an vetra, di bidi dom ton an
vetra di bida, dam nan nan vetra di bidi dam dam nan vetra di bida.
Dul bam tenen tra di bidi dul bam
tenen tra di bida, dul bam tenen tra di bidi, dul bam tenen tra di bida.
Dom ton dau de tra di bidi dom ton
dau de tra di bida, dam dam dau de tra di bidi, dam dam dau de tra di bida.
Dul bam ten dau tra di bidi dul bam
ten dau tra di bida, dul bam ten dau tra di bidi, dul bam ten dau tra di bida.
Vous avez norizi, vous respectez, oh, d'abord que vous lose
l'air à l'arrière, vous avez norizi, vous respectez, d'abord que vous lose l'air à l'arrière.
Dis voilà que t'en trente, voilà que t'en der, man avec trawa,
d'abord que ouais, dis voilà que n'en trente, voilà que n'en der, man avec trawa, d'abord que ouais.
Fiche le godin, noir à body, rasco di fiche le godin,
noir à body, drink fiche le godin, va body, rasco di fiche le godin, va body, drink.
Wa ling wa body, wasco di wa ling
va body, drink, wa din dan, va body, wasco di wa din dan, va body, mo.
The Atlantic megalith builders are the oldest surviving ethnic group in Europe and live all along the Atlantic coastline from Iberia to the northern reaches of Scandinavia. Known for such mysterious traits as having red hair and green or blue eyes, Rh negative blood, and sometimes speaking some very mysterious languages, all the Atlantic megalith builders share some common traits that tie them together as a group. One of these common traits is genetic ancestry. Women of Atlantic megalith builder descent almost always carry the H or U mitochondrial DNA marker. Men always carry the R1b-Y marker, either as R1b DF27, R1b R21, or R1b L21. This might show up as Irish or British on tests like Ancestry, but GetCom is quite specific about Atlantic megalith builder DNA. The Basque and Sami peoples have very ancient languages that are probably related to the original language of the Atlantic megalith builders. The other groups speak variants of Gaelic P and Gaelic Q. Gaelic P is spoken in the main British Isle and Brittany, France, and includes Brittonic, Breton, Cornish, Welsh, and the extinct languages of Cumbric and Pictish. Gaelic Q includes the Goidelic, Irish, Scottish Gaelic, and recently extinct Manx languages. One of the strongest cultural ties between all the Atlantic megalith builder peoples is that of a shared mythos. These myths include the wisdom-seeking youth and the fish wizard, monsters like the Cyclops and the giant, tree gods, Morgan, that is the siren or death mermaid, the orphan king, and various gods of thunder, wind, rain, and other forces of nature. Although R1b seems to be a more recent arrival from Europe, the DF27 and RL21 variants seem almost exclusive to Iberia, Brittany, the British Isles, and parts of Scandinavia. This distribution seems strange until you superimpose a map of the two haplogroups over an Ice Age map. The Atlantic megalith builder population was likely heavily distributed along the now submerged Atlantic coast from Iberia to Ireland, including the former tundras that once covered Doggerland. Atlantic megalith builders are people who have been repeatedly beset by tragedy. It is clear from the distribution maps that many perished in the floods that occurred at the end of the last ice age. In 5500 BCE, a large iceberg in Norway calved, causing a tsunami that covered the last of Doggerland Bank. Perhaps some of the earliest megaliths, built within 1,000 years of this tragedy, memorialize the dead from this great tragedy. At the end of the Bronze Age and the beginning of the Iron Age, Celts invaded the territories where the Atlantic megalith builders lived and all but extinguished their original languages. The Y-DNA evidence seems to indicate that this was an extremely violent invasion, but that is just a theory. During the time of Nero, the Roman Empire executed a systemic genocide against the Britons living in modern-day England. An estimated 250,000 Britons died in a battle on Wattle Street between Suetonius and Boudica. Britannic culture was extinguished. British culture is a collective amnesia about its culture prior to the arrival of the Romans. Much of the confusion between Celts and Atlantic megalith builders stems from this amnesia. There were also post-medieval attempts to erase the Atlantic megalith builder culture. Some of these include the Inquisition, the Plantations, the Heritable Jurisdictions Act against the Scots, and the Spanish Civil War against the Basques, among many attempts to eradicate its culture. In recent times, Atlantic megalith builder culture has experienced a revival. J.R.R. Tolkien and his successor, George R.R. Martin, have included many elements of megalith builder mythos in their stories. Clannad and Enya have popularized Atlantic megalith builder music into the mainstream. Ireland gained its independence in the early 20th century, and it looks like the people of Scotland and Wales will soon follow suit. The Basque independence movement is very strong in the Iberian Peninsula, and there is a huge revival of so-called Celtic culture among the Bretons of Brittany, France, as well as among Scottish, Scots-Irish, and Irish Americans. A special thank you to the following musicians for making their beautiful music available, royalty-free. If you enjoyed this video, please consider becoming a sponsor on Patreon. If you like this video, please subscribe and keep checking this channel to learn how to get the most out of your DNA test results. Thank you for watching.